You probably think that an elite, incredibly fast golf swing comes from having really strong arms.
Right, that's the classic assumption.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe, if you spend any time on a driving range, you're convinced it all comes from possessing impossibly fast hips.
Oh, sure. The whole fire the hips thing.
Right. But what if the true engine of clubhead speed, like the absolute foundation of unlocking your maximum power, actually starts in your big toe?
I mean, it sounds utterly bizarre when you say it out loud.
It really does,
But from a strict biomechanical standpoint, it is entirely accurate.
which is wild. So welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. Today we are unpacking a really comprehensive research breakdown titled Ground Reaction Forces and the Complete Kinetic Sequence.
Yeah, and our mission for this deep dive is to take some highly complex, three-dimensional motion analysis and actually translate it into actionable science for you.
This is going to get pretty dense, right?
Ugh, incredibly dense. But we want to decode the invisible forces that govern a golf swing. Basically, separating the illusion of speed from the actual physics of power.
I love that idea of invisible forces.
Yeah.
Because usually when a golfer wants to analyze their swing, they just prop up a smartphone on a bag.
Right. Take a quick slow motion video.
Exactly. And they look at the swing plane. Maybe they draw a little line on the screen to see where their hands are at impact.
Which, I mean, it's helpful to a degree, but...
But it's like looking at a website screen when you really need to be looking at the underlying code.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, standard two-dimensional video is just the surface. Today, we're looking at the code. We're looking at the raw fuel powering those parts.
That is exactly it. Traditional 2D video only shows the kinematics, how the body appears to move through space.
Right, the visible stuff.
Yeah, but what it completely misses are the kinetics, the invisible forces at play. A video cannot show you muscular loading. It can't show you pressure transfer, and most importantly, it cannot show you the forces interacting with the ground. Elite speed isn't produced by one isolated body part deciding to just move fast.
Okay, but let me push back on this a little because,
Okay.
well, I'm holding a golf club with my hands, and I'm twisting my torso to hit a ball resting on a tee. I mean, my hands and my torso are the things actually moving the club.
Visually.
So wait, are you saying that analyzing a golfer's swing just by looking at their torso and arms is basically useless for understanding where power actually comes from?
I wouldn't say useless, but looking solely from the waist up, you miss the engine completely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're looking at the symptom, not the disease. The visible speed of the clubhead, that blur of the driver through the impact zone, that's merely the result of forces interacting with the ground first.
So it all starts at the floor.
It absolutely does. If you don't look at the ground, you are ignoring the source of the power. The golf swing begins at the surface beneath your feet.
I see.
Long before your pelvis rotates or, before your ribcage accelerates, your feet must interact with the ground. They have to create the forces that support your balance and control your momentum.
Okay, so if the power is invisible and it originates in the dirt, we need to break down the exact physics of how the body extracts that energy.
Right, because we aren't just standing there passively.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
And the text breaks this down into three core phases in the lower body. So let's start with the first one, which is the shift phase.
Yeah, the shift phase. So during the early downswing, pressure begins to move toward the lead side. That's your left side if you're a right-handed golfer.
Got it.
But this is where amateur players often misinterpret the mechanics. This shift doesn't mean your entire body mass just slides laterally toward the target.
Like a sway.
Exactly. Swaying is bad. It's actually a controlled redistribution of pressure into the ground. And as that pressure spikes under the lead foot, the lead ankle moves into dorsiflexion.
Okay, sports science term alert. Dorsiflexion. That just means the shin bone is moving forward relative to the foot, right? Closing that angle.
That's right. The knee moves out over the toes.
Which makes sense because you are dropping weight onto that leg. I mean, the ankle has to yield.
It has to, yeah.
If the ankle was completely locked, the force of shifting your weight would just cause your foot to roll over or, you'd lose your balance completely.
Exactly. The ankle acts as an active dampener. It absorbs that incoming kinetic energy. But while the ankle is yielding, something entirely different is happening in the foot itself.
Oh, right. The forefoot begins to rapidly stiffen.
Yes. The toes, and particularly that big toe we mentioned earlier, they press down to create a highly stable contact point with the earth.
This is the part of the text that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
Because it explains the why behind the big toe.
It's not just pressing down for grip.
Right. When the big toe anchors into the ground and pulls back slightly, It engages this whole mechanical process. It's essentially pulling the plantar fascia tight,
Yep, the connective tissue under your foot.
and that draws the heel and the toe closer together, which raises the arch and locks all those tiny bones into a rigid structure. It really made me think of, like, a bag of ground coffee.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, like when it sits on the shelf, the bag is loose and mobile, right?
Yeah.
You can press your fingers into it. But the second you vacuum seal it, it becomes a literal brick.
A brick.
Yeah.
Exactly. In biomechanics, we call that the windlass mechanism. The foot transitions from a mobile, adaptable base into a firm, vacuum-sealed platform.
And that transition is critical, right?
Absolutely. The foot adapts, the ankle absorbs the pressure, and the whole complex locks in to transfer that force upward.
But wait, here is where I see a massive physical contradiction in all this.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, my lead foot is now locked into the ground like a ski boot. It's a rigid block. But a golf swing is highly rotational. If my foot is cemented to the ground and I try to aggressively spin my body toward the target, I'm going to completely shred my knee or snap my ankle. How do we turn a linear weight shift into rotation when the foot is locked?
Ah, and that physical contradiction brings us directly to the second phase, the braking phase.
The braking phase, okay.
This is the great differentiator between average golfers and elite ball strikers. The lead side has accepted the load, and now it has to redirect it.
Okay, so how does it redirect?
As your momentum shifts forward, the tibia, your shin bone, begins to rotate externally. And at the exact same time, the large muscles around your hip, particularly the glutes, begin firing eccentrically.
Let's pause on the word eccentrically, because that's another heavy sports science term.
Yeah, enough.
If a muscle is firing concentrically, it's shortening, right? Like your bicep bulging when you lift a dumbbell. But eccentric means the muscle is producing force while it's lengthening.
That's spot on.
It's like catching a heavy medicine ball thrown at your chest. Your arm muscles are firing hard to stop the ball, but they are yielding, lengthening, to absorb that massive energy.
That is a perfect visualization. The glutes are contracting hard, but they are lengthening under the immense load of your shifting body weight.
So they aren't creating forward movement.
No, they are violently decelerating movement. They are putting the brakes on your forward momentum.
But wait, braking sounds like you're literally stopping the swing. Why on earth would a golfer want to slow down when trying to create maximum speed?
I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive, but it is the great paradox of biomechanics. It's the central scientific principle of human kinematic sequencing.
Which is what, exactly?
A proximal segment, meaning a body part closer to the center of your mass, like your pelvis must decelerate so the next distal segment, the parts further away, like your torso and arms, can violently accelerate.
Oh, I see.
By forcefully decelerating the pelvis at the correct millisecond, you create a roadblock. The energy has to go somewhere, so it surges upward.
It's the wet towel analogy.
Yes.
Exactly. If you want to snap a wet towel or, crack a whip, you don't just push your hand forward as fast as you can. If you just push, the towel just flops.
Right, there's no snap.
To get the explosive snap at the tip, you have to move your hand forward and then violently pull the handle back. That sudden braking action sends a multiplying wave of energy down the towel.
That is beautifully explained. In this scenario, the pelvis is the handle and the club head is the tip of the towel.
Wow, okay, that makes so much sense.
And this braking action is entirely reliant on what is happening at the ground level. While your glutes are acting as the brake pads, your feet are creating horizontal forces.
Okay, so pushing against the ground.
Right. Imagine you are standing on a giant dinner plate and you want to twist it counterclockwise. Your lead foot has to push forward and away from the target, while your trail foot pushes backward.
So you're creating opposing forces.
Exactly, a force couple. You are literally twisting the earth to generate rotational torque in your body.
Which means we are finally ready for the payoff. We've shifted the weight, the big toe has vacuum sealed the foot to the ground, the ankle has absorbed the load, and the glutes have slammed on the brakes.
The energy is pooling up.
Right. So what happens in the third phase?
That would be the propulsion phase. As the club moves closer to the impact zone, the lead leg, which was previously bent and absorbing force, now extends forcefully.
So you push up.
Yes.
Okay.
Your quadriceps fire to extend the knee, and you drive massive vertical force down into the ground. And because of Newton's third law, the ground pushes an immense amount of vertical force back up through your leg.
But hold on, if I just push straight down into the ground, wouldn't I just jump straight up in the air?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. I mean, we see some long drive champions whose feet leave the ground, But most golfers stay planted. It's not just a vertical leap, is it?
No, and that is a crucial distinction made in the 3D analysis. In a highly efficient swing, this vertical ground reaction force is seamlessly integrated with the rotational torque we just talked about, along with lateral side bend. As your lead leg extends, the lead side of your pelvis naturally rises, your torso continues its rotation, and your lead shoulder moves upward and backward.
So the body isn't just lifting independently.
Exactly. It acts as a highly coordinated lever system, transferring that massive surge of ground energy straight through the torso, down the arms, and into the club head.
It is wild to think that this entire explosive sequence is so heavily dependent on that big toe. The source material keeps coming back to it as the unsung hero of the swing.
Because it is the linchpin of stability. The big toe's vital role is managing pressure.
Right.
If you roll onto the outside of your foot or, if your big toe lifts and loses contact with the ground, the windlass mechanism fails.
The coffee bag unseals.
Exactly. Your arch collapses, your foot cannot support the sheer load of the shift, and your firm platform disintegrates. You leak all that stored kinetic energy into the ground before it even reaches your knee.
This changes everything about how we should talk about swing mechanics on the driving range.
Oh, completely.
Because the standard advice you hear amateurs giving each other is always focused on the symptoms. It's always, you need to clear your hips faster or rotate your pelvis more.
Which is just awful advice, honestly.
Yeah, the source material heavily argues that this is disastrous instruction. But why? If pelvic rotation is how we transfer power, why is telling someone to spin their hips faster a bad idea?
Because pelvic speed alone is meaningless without resistance. The pelvis doesn't just float in midair.
Right, it's connected to the legs.
Exactly. Its movement entirely depends on the ground forces beneath it. If a golfer listens to that advice and tries to artificially spin their hips as fast as possible, they almost always bypass the braking phase.
Yeah, just blow right past it.
Yep. They don't give the foot time to stabilize, they don't give the ankle time to absorb, and they don't create that eccentric roadblock with the glutes.
So the handle of the whip just keeps moving forward. It never stops to send the energy down the towel.
Precisely. You get poorly organized, chaotic movement. The golfer might feel like they are swinging out of their shoes, they're out of breath.
Muscle straining and everything.
Right. But if you put them on a launch monitor, their club head speed is actually dropping. If the links below the pelvis fail, the energy leaks out.
That makes total sense.
The most effective players in the world don't just move their pelvis faster, they create a more efficient relationship between force production, braking, and propulsion.
And this is why 3D biomechanical analysis is forcing a revolution in coaching, isn't it?
It has to. We can no longer reduce complex lower body mechanics to a single flawed instruction like turn faster. We have to respect the swing as a complete system of physics.
That brings up a fascinating practical application for anyone listening who wants to take this to the course.
Okay, what's that?
It's the constant delicate battle between mobility and stability. You need both to execute a golf swing, but you need them in wildly different places, often just milliseconds apart.
Oh, absolutely. The lower limb is in a continuous state of alternating between those two qualities.
All right.
Your ankle requires high mobility to absorb the pressure when you shift, but an inch away, your foot requires absolute stability to create a firm platform.
It's incredible how fast the body has to switch modes.
It is. Your knee needs the freedom to rotate without collapsing laterally, while your pelvis eventually needs the rigid stability of the braking phase to transfer the force upward.
So timing has to be the ultimate difference maker here. What happens to the average golfer if their timing is just like a fraction of a second off?
It completely derails the sequence.
Let's say during that final propulsion phase, I extend my lead leg and push into the ground too early. What happens then?
Well, extending too early means you lose the pressure under your foot before the club is actually in a position to be accelerated.
Oh, I see.
You've essentially fired the cannon before the cannonball is loaded. The energy surges up into your torso, but the arms aren't ready to receive it.
And what if I'm late? What if I keep that lead knee bent for too long and I extend my leg too late in the downswing?
Then you completely fail to harvest the available vertical ground force. You miss the tiny biomechanical window to transfer the energy.
So the club is just stuck.
Basically, the club has already passed the critical acceleration point. And because your body didn't supply the power, your brain panics.
And you try to muscle it with your arm.
Exactly. You end up relying entirely on the small muscles of your arms and hands to try and artificially generate speed at the last millisecond.
Which never goes well.
Never. This leads to casting the club, losing your spine angle, and just wildly inconsistent strikes. A segment that is too mobile leaks energy. A segment that becomes rigid too early restricts movement.
It's a tightrope walk.
It really is. An efficient ball striker creates stiffness exactly when force must be transferred and mobility exactly when movement must be absorbed.
Okay, let's pull this all together. I want to map out this entire kinetic sequence from start to finish so you, the listener, can visualize exactly how energy travels through your bones and muscles the next time you step up to a tee box.
I think that's a great idea.
So, according to the research, the biomechanical chain goes exactly like this. It originates at the ground.
Right.
The ground pushes into the foot, anchored firmly by that big toe locking the arch. From the stabilized foot, the energy moves up into the yielding ankle.
Correct.
Then it transfers to the tibia, which begins to rotate, into the knee, up into the hip, where the glutes slam on the brakes.
That's the eccentric braking.
Right? From the hip into the pelvis. Because the pelvis decelerates, the energy surges into the ribcage. The ribcage rotates and decelerates, sending the power into the shoulders,
Down the arms.
into the hands, and finally, explosively into the golf club. Every single segment has a job. Receive the energy, organize it, and violently transfer it forward.
And as that energy moves up the chain, the principle of conservation of angular momentum takes over.
The big parts pass energy to the small parts.
Exactly. The massive, heavy segments of the lower body initiate the movement relatively slowly. As they brake, they pass their momentum to the lighter segments above them, which then move much faster.
The pelvis slows down so the torso can speed up.
Yes. The torso slows down so the arms can gain speed. The arms decelerate right at impact to release the club head. It is a masterpiece of precise, cascading timing across the entire human body.
It really is a masterpiece.
If we want to distill this entire deep dive down to a single overriding principle from the text, basically a mantra for how human bodies generate power, it is these 5 steps.
Lay it on us.
Accept the force, control the force, redirect the force, transfer the force, accelerate the club.
Accept, control, redirect, transfer, accelerate. I love that. It completely shatters the myth that speed comes from just swinging harder.
It really does.
Elite speed isn't about the strength of one muscle. It is entirely about the efficiency of the sequence.
It is. And, if we zoom out and connect this golf-specific research to a broader context, it raises a really fascinating question about how we move through the world.
What do you mean?
Well, if eccentric braking and incredibly subtle ground forces like ankle mobility and big toe pressure are the true hidden engines of a 120-mile-per-hour golf swing,
Yeah.
how much of our power, our balance, and our physical efficiency in everyday activities is dictated by our feet without us ever realizing it?
Oh, wow. I never thought about that.
Right. Whether you are swinging a tennis racket, throwing a baseball, or simply walking up a steep flight of stairs, the ground is always there. Our feet are always running this invisible biomechanical code.
That is a great point to leave off on. It's definitely worth paying closer attention to how you interact with the earth all day, not just when you have a club in your hands.
Absolutely.
If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us continue producing high-quality educational content for golfers and coaches worldwide.
If you have a question, topic idea, or golf challenge you would like us to research, test, and explain, please leave a comment, contact us on LinkedIn, or send us an email.
Don't forget to explore the eCoach 360-degree golf intelligence platform and experience our 48-hour free trial. You can also join our 30-day golf biomechanics, kinematics, ground reaction forces, and club kinematic certification program to deepen your understanding of golf performance.